Demonstrations in Wisconsin and Ohio over cuts to union benefits and pay have caught the nation's attention. States like Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Indiana are planning similar demonstrations against union-targeted budget cuts. So it's time to tee up a fight, and I think we have one for you. Steve Morris, senior, I can look at them already. All right, Steve Morris, senior economics writer of the Wall Street Journal editorial board. He's got a proposal to cut worker pensions for government employees by 50% across the board. And Jonathan Ticini is president of the Economic Future Group. I believe he disagrees. Steve Moore, explain first.
Well, Aaron, look, I just think that the unions today, again, we're talking about the government unions, not the private sector unions, that they have turned states and cities into the Chryslers and GMs and the Postal Service of the American economy. They're going broke. These states really do need radical changes in their budgets if they're going to remain financially solvent. Now, the studies that we've done at the Wall Street Journal and have been validated by so many others show that the average public employee worker is getting pension and health care benefits that are about twice as generous as what private workers get. So that's why I said what we need is about a 50% reduction, which all that would do, Aaron, is restore parity between private and public workers.
That's a pretty stunning number. Jonathan Ticini.
Well, let's try to get back from the Sarah Palin world of make-believe and non-facts and talk about really where we're at. First of all, we're not facing a crisis. We're facing a shortfall. And let's talk about why that happened. Number one, because we've destroyed a progressive tax system in this country, because we've refused to control health care costs. I've been for a Medicare for all system. And number three, the most important thing is the financial crisis that we've gone through. Now, to cut people's wages and pensions, essentially take money out of their pockets, is completely contrary to how you fix that. In order to recover, to grow, people have to have money to spend. Certainly, retired people have to have money to spend. If you take money out of their pockets, where's the spending money going to come from? So it's crazy to do that. And I think more importantly, I think it's unpatriotic and un-American. In the Constitution of the United States, we talk about promoting promoting the general welfare. Under Steve's proposal, he would go the opposite way and say, rip up the Constitution and say, we don't care about sharing the wealth of this great country. We want to give it to just a few.
Well, actually, it's just, Aaron, it's just the last 25 or 30 years that public employees were even able to be involved in collective bargaining. Even people like Franklin Roosevelt said that it was a bad idea. And the reason these pensions and these health care benefits are so out of control is not just the unions, it's also the politicians for the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. Republicans and Democrats have loaded up on these benefits. Look, you talk about progressive taxation. That's an interesting point. You know, Aaron, if you look at the states that are in the biggest holes, states like my home state of Illinois, New York, California, New Jersey, those are all the states that have the most progressive tax system, and wealthy people are leaving those states.
Actually, New York, if we went back to the progressive system we had in the 1970s, we'd have between $6 and $8 or $9 billion more in revenue. We don't have a progressive tax system in the state of New York. I live there. I pay those taxes. I'm proud to pay those taxes to pay for those public workers, for the firefighters, and for their pensions. So,
Jonathan, let me ask you, though, something that I think is really important for your side of the table to answer, and that is how in an environment where companies have had to make cuts and people who work for companies and unions of companies like GM have taken cuts, that public workers are getting promises for health care and retirement that is twice as high as those other workers. Well, I mean, we'd all hear you if there's money to pay them, but if we're running out of money, how do you deal with that problem?
Well, I don't think that trying to mirror what's happened at other companies is a good plan. And again, let me go back to the 2 points I made before. The principal reason we're facing that many of those companies are facing those financial situations, number one, is because of health care costs. I think you and I have debated this before, and I've debated this with Maria Bartiromo. If we had a Medicare for all system in this country, the auto industry, for example, would be competitive around the world. GM workers, all auto workers, could work for free, and you would still never solve that problem if we do not have Medicare for all. If we dealt with health care costs, we would deal with Social Security, Medicare, all those things out into the future. We would not have to touch anybody's benefits in the public sector.
Yeah, but you know, Aaron, it's interesting, isn't it, that he didn't answer the question?
No, I did answer the question.
No, you didn't.
Sure I did.
How is it fair that a public employee should get twice as high a benefit as a private employee? And in fact, Aaron, that's exactly why you're seeing polls show that the American public are favoring the governor and the legislature in paring these things back, because it gets back to what liberals always talk about. Fairness. It's a basic, Aaron, issue of what's fair. Why should taxpayers have to pay for these lavish benefits?
Let me make 3 points. One
you
is.
get to make one, then we're wrapping up. Pick your best one.
Okay, then I'm going to read from what a public employee sent to me. I'm a public employee. I'm not the problem. Teachers, police officers, paramedics, firefighters, road workers are not the enemy. We live here, pay taxes, work hard, and try to support our families too. Why are you trying to drag me down to your level when I am more than willing to give you a hand to lift up to mine? It should not be that the American way is Steve's way, which is to cut people down and destroy the middle class. We should raise people up, and that is what the American dream is about, not what the Wall Street Journal's dream is to cut the American dream.
Why didn't they teach last week?
The Wall Street Journal's dream is to
Gentlemen, I know I missed you because it's almost impossible to end these conversations, but we'll have you back, and thanks to both Steve,
Thank
Jonathan.
you, Aaron.